Let's Science is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
3, 2, 1.
We live in a universe of scientific wonders.
Every day, scientists are inching towards breakthroughs which can change our lives.
We're playing our small part in sharing these wonders with you.
That's why today is a fine day for science.
So let's science.
So normally Caroline would do this, but Caroline, as we mentioned at the top of the show, she's in New Zealand enjoying herself. She's having some family time now, and she's already got some science topics prepared to go, and I know she can't wait to share those with us. But because it's you and me, Lino, I thought we'll do one. And now, what I thought was, let's capitalize on what we've done. So just like I mentioned, we just came back from a holiday at San Remo, which is not in Italy, in Victoria.
When you put it into the GPS, you went, wow, there's one in the US as well. What?
15,000 miles. What? Yeah. No, San Remo, Victoria, which is right next to Phillip Island. So there's a road and a bridge that connects to Phillip Island, and we were literally a minute's drive away from that bridge. So the main attraction wasn't necessarily San Remo, it was Phillip Island. It was going there. So, and that's most of our activities. Now, Phillip Island is known internationally for a few things, but one thing in particular, Lino, what is the one thing in particular that people will know Phillip Island?
Look, we have the most cutest, adorable, work ethic Victorian penguins we have ever seen. Yep, definitely.
Now, I know that a lot of people joke about the animals in Victoria and insects that are, in Australia that are trying to kill everyone, and yes, those do exist.
They
but
do
we also have some nice ones too. We've got some nice ones, right?
Yeah.
Now, and the little penguins, they're called little penguins. That's what they're officially called.
Yep.
They would be one of them. They are these beautiful, cute, fun to watch little creatures, and so there's an attraction at Phillip Island which has been running for decades now, which is to watch the penguin
long
parade.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, the penguin parade exists it doesn't exploit the animals. It's actually there to support the conservation efforts of the penguins and of other species that live on Phillip Island. Phillip Island has a lot of natural habitats, and there are some species which are under threat, or some species which have been protected because of those conservation efforts. What they do is you can pay some money, like you buy your tickets, and you go to the beach at Phillip Island, there's a particular location, and they set up some stands where you can sit and you can watch the penguins come in the evening. So they've been out all day or out for a couple of days, and you watch them walk in from the ocean and go to their burrows. And it's the cutest thing you'll ever see. It's so nice. And we were fortunate because this year they actually let us sit on the beach. So cool. So we sat at ground level watching the penguins come in, and oh man, it was so, it was so good. Yeah. So just a couple of facts about the penguins is what I want to share today. So the little penguins, their scientific name is Eudyptula minor. They're from the penguin bird family. They're one of the smallest penguins that exists. And now their status is least concern. So they're no longer endangered. And that's because, and we learned this from Tom, who's guide or the ranger. Yeah. So he said, if you got any questions, ask. So he walked past us like, Tom, question. So anyway, he was telling us that the population, since humans intervened to look after the colony on Phillip Island, the population has doubled over the last, I think it's 20 years. So where it was low at 15,000, or I think it was 12,000 or something like that, it's gone past 30,000 now. So the population, since they put strategies in to protect them, the population has more than doubled. Now, Phillip Island Nature Parks has a strategy or a vision, and their vision is to make Phillip Island a place where conservation and ecotourism excellence inspires people to actively protect the environment. So they want people to be able to see and interact with the animals without disrupting their natural lives, in order to be inspired to look after, in our language, to care for God's creation is what we would say, right? Stewardship of God's creation. The little penguin usually averages around 40 to 45 centimeters tall, and they weigh on average about 1 kilo. So they're very small and very light. It's the smallest penguin in the world and was made internationally famous thanks to Phillip Island's penguin parade. So for penguins, the little penguin is highly adapted for life in the sea. Its body is streamlined, its wings are modified as flippers, and its feathers are densely distributed over its body. The upper parts, including the back of the little penguin, are distinctly blue, which explains one of its alternative names, blue penguin, and the underbelly is white. Now, it doesn't say here on the website, but he explained that the blue sort of line...
Camouflages them.
It's like a camouflage, yeah. So if a predator was looking from above... they would camouflage in the sea so that they...
Yes.
Yeah. So it's because there are predators who would attack and eat these penguins too. That's the circle of life.
I was about to say, I heard of, I'm thinking of Lion King from that, but it is. But it's good to see they have some camouflage in the water, and they, wow.
I was just thinking, Simba, everything that touches, that the light touches is yours. Yeah.
It was so philosophical.
I know, right? Yeah. The bill of the little penguin is grey-black with a pinkish lower base, and its iris is pale grey to white. There's one New Zealand population that has broad white borders to the flippers and are considered by some as a separate species. Young penguins are bluer than adults.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the little penguin's also known as the fairy penguin because of its small size. Now, on land at night, little penguins are noisy, particularly before and during breeding. They also call intermittently at sea. Their yapping sound like a small dog. Lino, would you like to talk about the experience of walking across the boardwalk? The sound of all these penguins.
It was, for me personally, it was absolutely beautiful. All these penguins just calling to each other. What did Tom, it's just Tom?
Tom, yeah.
The guy, yeah. He was saying that they had 17 different kind of calls or something.
Yeah.
I can't remember if he said or read about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just see these different calls, and you can notice the more the adult ones when they're a bit more, more grumpy, but more gruff. No, apologies, gruffy.
Yeah.
And then you got the little high pitched ones where they're the chicks, and they're the one, where's mommy and daddy? I'm ready for be fed. Yeah. And it's personally myself, I don't think we've ever been through that.
Yeah.
I think when we saw the penguin parade back when we went for the high school, I just remember us just walking back, and that was it.
Yeah.
And there were no lights.
Yeah.
I think maybe one, not a floodlight, but one couple lights. And we would just push through and back to our bus.
Yeah.
We didn't have time to have a look at the penguins. I just didn't remember that.
We got to enjoy it in a really special way, didn't we, the other night?
We did.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah. You turn up to the centre, you get your tickets checked, everything, and then you go through, and it's a boardwalk of a couple of 100 meters.
Exactly. I don't think we had that. Yeah, back in the days.
Yeah. So now the boardwalk is good because it elevates you above the ground so that you're not walking through the penguins' habitats. And when it's lights, you have to go in the evening, but you start with the light before sunset, and you can see all the burrows that the penguins have dug, so you can see where where they're going to, basically. Because
where they're going to, yeah.
They can go up to 2 kilometers inland, so they come out of the sea and they walk another 2K, some of them, to find their burrow. Yeah, these poor things. But when you're walking back from the boardwalk, it's dark except for a few small lights.
Very dim lights.
Now, they have to be careful with the lights because a normal light, like a flashlight, would actually blind the penguins. Their eyes are very sensitive.
Exactly.
So they use
very
lights
sensitive.
that the penguins can't see. Their eyes can't pick up the spectrum of that light, but we can. So we can. Yeah. So, but we were walking. You walk through at night, and all you can hear is these penguin calls.
These penguins.
600 meter walk, and you can hear it, and it's amazing. And the other thing is,
amazing.
We could, after we saw them coming out of the sea, we still see them walking back, don't we? Like we're walking with them,
exactly,
like side by side, not.
That's a good attitude.
And you can, they're standing there and they're calling and they're flapping their flippers, and you're literally 30 centimeters away watching this beautiful thing, this beautiful penguin call and walk and slap the other penguins and all the things that that they were doing. The only thing you're not allowed to do is take photos, and that's
exactly. And I don't think you're allowed to touch them.
No, definitely can't.
We couldn't actually. Yeah. Could. No, we definitely not.
No, but you can't take photos, and that's for their protection. But
it was unbelievable. Yeah. It's just the sight and the sound is enough to appreciate what the poor things have to go and what they were saying? 1,000 Ks away to.
Not that long, not that far, but certainly a couple of kilometers. Yeah. No, so they can travel. I might go with this then later because that's actually the next part as well. Because it says here, they spend most of the day at sea feeding, and they come ashore to their coastal habitats at night, which we just talked about. They can sleep. They can sleep at sea, snoozing away on the water surface. They can travel 30 kilometers away from the colony during breeding.
30. Gotcha.
But they can travel over 1,000 kilometers when they're not breeding. It says here, today Phillip Island in Victoria is the home to the largest penguin colony in the world, and they host the famous penguin parade. which we view from the platforms, boardwalks, untouched beaches, and so on as you watch them waddle home to their burrows. Like many other severely threatened colonies of little penguins, Phillip Island's penguins were once on the brink of ceasing to exist. In the 1980s, scientists found that the land-based threats were having a major impact on the colony. These included habitat destruction from housing environments, housing development, fire, pests, and industrial fishing. At the time, it looked like these threats were going to wipe them out by the 1990s. In response, the Penguin Protection Program was established. The Victorian government began buying back land in the Summerland estate, located in the middle of the colony. Roads were closed, introduced predators like red foxes were eliminated, and a housing estate was removed. Extensive conservation work has happened then since the 1980s and has increased the little penguins' numbers. So here's the numbers here. So while there were 12,000 in the mid-1980s and declining, Phillip Island is now home to about 32,000 little penguins. Phillip Island is a unique example of how conservation objectives and visitor management can be achieved in parallels. What they want is people to be able to see the penguins, but also preserve the penguins' environment so that they not interfered with as well. So a couple of other facts very quickly. So this is about their feeding. They forage for food at sea, mostly from dawn to an hour before dusk. Little penguins swim with their flippers and use their tail for guidance. So they feed on small shoaling fish and cephalopods, and to a lesser extent on crustaceans, which they capture and swallow underwater. Although several birds may pursue the same shoal, they feed singly. They don't work together usually. And yes, when they breed, they only cover short distances. They don't go that far away. A foraging bird can dive from 6 to 69 meters. The average is about 30, with a speed of about 1.5 to 2 meters a second, and remain submerged for over a minute. After feeding, the little penguins approach the colony in tight groups, remaining offshore until dusk. At dusk, they come ashore and cross the beach and head to their burrows. And so we saw this, right? So you sit there for maybe 45 minutes
waiting.
Because it's not like they're scheduled to come exactly at 10 o'clock. They come when the sun has gone down and it's dark enough, that's when they come out. And so you can just see little groups just standing around and just waddling around on the edge of the beach until there's enough of them. And then the group will just slowly, and you can see how tired the poor things are. They're just slowly waddle their way. They don't rush. They're just moving very slowly.
Look.
Yeah.
The work's done in a sense.
Yeah. And you just watch them walk.
It's
and see them go up the hill. Very cute. It's such a pleasure to watch it, wasn't it? Yeah.
It's absolutely.
Yeah. And then just lastly, very briefly, just on breeding. So the males search for mates by advertising outside the nesting area. After pairing, the calling continues at the nest site to maintain their pair bond. During courtship, both birds stand erect with flippers spread and heads bowed and walk in tight circles around the nest site, calling loudly as they go. I'm not sure if that's like their little wedding ceremony or something like that, but that's what they do.
It could be.
Yeah, because it says here they form long-term monogamous pairing bonds with a separation rate of about 18%. A bird will first breed when it's 2 to 3 years old. The breeding season varies in different parts of the country. They both dig the burrow, and the male does a lot of the digging, but the female helps as well. The burrows can be as far as 200 meters inland and 50 meters above sea level.
Wow.
Yeah, and the dunes or other soft soil are usually chosen, and we saw this as well.
Exactly.
Sometimes they might use caves or crevices in rocks as well. They return to the same part of the colony each year, although not necessarily to the same burrow. Both parents contribute to the nest building, and the majority is done by the male. The nests may vary from a thick mat of grass to a few strands, usually collected within a few meters of the burrow entrance. The parents defend the small area and the entrance to the burrow, and that's why the burrows are usually spaced about 5 to 10 meters apart. They're rarely closer than 2 meters. So aggressive encounters range from posturing and calling to fights involving pecking, shoving and slapping with flippers. So they can get a bit nasty with each other. Young birds wander out of their parents' territory and will be attacked by other adults. So they've got to be careful what they wander to.
Yeah, where they wanted to. Yeah. So it's got bad neighbors.
Yeah.
That's not very nice. Come on.
Right. Yeah, they like their mates, but not their neighbors from the looks of it. But they will walk together in packs to get off the beach to their home. So that's pretty good.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah. They both incubate the eggs and there's about 68 hours between laying of the first and the second egg, and they both hatch together. A newly hatched chick is covered in dark grey down, which is soon replaced by a second coat, a chocolate brown in colour. Their eyes are just open at 1 day and are fully open at 1 week. The feathers start to emerge after 4 weeks, and by 8 weeks, only a few patches of the down remain. So when they look after their young, it's shared by both parents. Just a few days after the chicks hatch, the adults alternate daily, with one parent guarding the nest and the other foraging at the sea. After 2 weeks, both parents go to the sea each day, returning in the evening or staying away for several days. Hungry chicks can beg vigorously to be fed, pursuing their parents until their persistence drives the adults from the nest. So like, get out there, I'm hungry.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's the little penguin that we experienced. So it was a great evening. And if you're in Australia, if you're in Victoria, go to the Phillip Island Penguin Parade. It's one thing that you must put on your bucket list. It's a great
Definitely.
evening. Yeah.
It definitely.
And you can get there early and have dinner there if you want. They've got restaurants and dining and things like that. So so you get there a couple of hours early and just enjoy and learn about penguins. There's lots of displays and everything, and then go for it.
Let's Science is brought to you by StarQuest Media and is a fortnightly podcast that brings you the scientific wonders of our universe from a distinctly Catholic point of view. For more from Caroline, Lindsay, and friends, listen to the StarQuest show, Catholics of Oz. Find links from today's show at sqpn.com/science and find the Catholics of Oz at sqpn.com/Oz. Be sure to follow the show in Apple Podcasts, Google Play, wherever you can find podcasts, or on the SQPN YouTube channel. The generous donations of our patrons at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue Let's Science and all the shows at StarQuest, which makes our nonprofit mission possible. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Join us next time for more scientific wonders, and thank you for listening to Let's Science on StarQuest. Here's another show on the StarQuest network you're sure to enjoy: The Secrets of Technology. Find it wherever fine podcasts are found or at sqpn.com/technology.